we get so dialed in, okay, what is the actual scientific process that is happening? Insulin resistance, that we make that the problem, and we kind of miss the bigger picture of what is happening. And what I was realizing, okay, we have energy flowing into the body. Body uses energy. Cells can store energy. Energy, very valuable, You think about a sugar, right? Sugar's coming into the body. Sugar, very valuable to the body when it needs it, right? And in a normal scenario, like in a historical scenario, we're eating to get energy into the body to live and stay alive. We have to do it. Shouldn't be very hard to convince a cell in the body to take up some sugar, is like, cell gonna want to do that. Like, it's energy, And so think about how abnormal, this is what I was thinking, think how abnormal it is to have a scenario where the cell in the body is saying no. Cell is saying, no, we don't need that now. It's like, we look at how does the body say no? How does the cell say no? And we look at insulin resistance and we say, oh, this is a problem, like the insulin is not working. And I was just realizing it's not that the insulin is not working. Like, we look at something like diabetes type 2 and we say, oh, the body is broken, right? The insulin's not working, the cell is not working. We label it a dysfunction. But I was just seeing, like, the system is actually working. Like, I was thinking like nothing is actually broken from a certain perspective. I'm not saying this condition is good in any way. I'm just saying the cell is communicating. This is where I was going with, like, disease as teacher. So often we just look at disease and we don't see that it can be a message from the body. We just attack it, but we don't really listen to it, or if we're listening to it, we're missing the message. And so I'm kind of thinking through these thoughts. I was just having this thought yesterday. The cell is communicating, we don't need any more energy here. We don't need the sugar. This is not good for us. Like, and it's trying to protect ourselves. What I was seeing, protect itself. Like, what I was seeing, I was like, it's insulin resistance is a defense mechanism that the cell is employing to protect itself from getting overloaded with too much energy, like more than it can handle. I think this is a totally different way to think about it, a really positive way to think about it. Part of it, I was saying, okay, our cells in the body are not greedy. They don't want to take more than they need. And so part of it is like, insulin resistance is like the cell is putting up a force field to try to repel anymore, and it's trying to just do that so that it can share, because the body wants to make sure, the cell wants to make sure that everybody else is taken care of. So that's a beautiful thought. And then also, I think it's like protecting itself. So I don't know if you're familiar with fatty liver disease. Like, you look at fatty liver disease where, like, so much energy getting put into cells in the liver where it doesn't belong. And this is what insulin resistance is trying, I think, to do. It's trying to prevent something like that. Trying to keep all the extra energy from being jammed into cells that don't need it or don't belong, because then they can become dysfunctional. It's like, if we look, what is insulin resistance as teacher, right? Like, if we stop looking at it as a problem that we just try to, like, medicate, and we start to look at, what is the body doing here? What is the body trying to do? Like, what can we learn from this? Because what I've seen is, like, okay, nothing is fundamentally broken in the body. We've just created an environment in the body where it is causing the cells to react in certain ways. And the way they're acting is trying to teach us what they actually need. So I was studying this week and reviewing. Been a while since I dove deep on it. Different tissues in the body develop insulin resistance at different rates. So muscle cells, for example, will become insulin resistant much sooner than other types of cells. And then liver cells will become insulin resistant, after that. And then the adipose cells, which are the body fat cells, become insulin resistant last, but they still become insulin resistant. And so you can see in the body this process where the insulin resistance functionally is just closing off access one after the other to different types of cells so that the energy can't flow there. And because the adipose cells are the last to develop the insulin resistance, that's what's shunting the extra energy into storage, and especially into the abdominal visceral fat cells. I was like, so that whole process, I just feel like we can learn so much from. That really the level below insulin resistance, it's all an energy balance, a cellular energy balance problem. And we want to create the environment in the cells where the cell is asking for energy, right? Where the cell says, hey, I really need some energy to function here. If we're creating that sort of environment, then the cell drops the force field, then the insulin resistance naturally goes away. Insulin resistance is not a type of thing that is permanent. It's actually a communication from the body about what the body needs, and that the body is trying to protect cells so that they can function properly and not be damaged. Anyway, this is my thought of the week. How do we learn from that in a way that it just isn't so scientific to say, because if you dive into the science on insulin resistance, everybody's studying, what happens at this receptor, GLUT4 receptor is the technical receptor where the insulin binds and jams it into the cell, the sugar. I was like, it's very good to understand all that, and a certain person really needs to understand all these metabolic details. But all those details do not help when we're missing the big message, from the body that is just give us some space here so that we can use this energy. This is how I wrap it back into the fasting process. We need to be eating low glycemic index, healthy foods that are not pushing the body to have to develop the insulin resistance. We need to exercise and move our bodies in healthy ways that let us burn up the sugar. In a muscle cell, when you're exercising, little secret doors open up and just let the sugar in without insulin. We need to do that. And then open up enough fasting space. Creates the environment where a cell can say, hey, look at this. I'm burning through this energy. Hey, now I could use some more. Now it's gonna, instead of sending the signals of insulin resistance where it's blocking, it's gonna turn off that message. It's gonna say, hey, I could use some energy now. That's a beautiful, beautiful space in the body.